Well, Dr. Stephen McKeever serves as the Secretary of Science and Technology on the Governor's Cabinet, as well as the Chairman of Oklahoma's Science and Technology Council, and he visited us here in studio. So, Dr. McKeever, what is the issue when it comes to STEM, but not only STEM education, but STEM workers?
The big issue is a pipeline of educated, trained, and qualified people to enter the workforce for our STEM industries. We're losing far too many people in this pipeline. I was looking at some figures just the other day, national figures, not just Oklahoma, which showed that out of every 100 high school kids that could go into a STEM career, qualified to do so, only less than 10 of them end up in a STEM career. So there's a huge leak in our pipeline of potentially qualified young people entering the workforce. That's our problem.
So as educators, what can we do to kind of patch that leaky pipeline?
One of the problems that we see, that we're finding, is that the students, these young people, don't understand the relevance of what is in the curriculum for these STEM courses. So the questions being asked are, why is this relevant? Why do I need to know algebra? I can't see any use for it. Why do I need to know calculus? Calculus is hard. Why should I have to do that? And in order to answer that question, we need to train the teachers. The teachers need to be aware of what the opportunities, the career opportunities are, so that they can transfer that back to the students. So relevance of the topic and why they need to know those skills in order to enter the workforce. That's number one. And then secondly, it's got to be of sufficient rigor that will enable them to succeed in that career. Many students, we find, leave K through 12, enter university thinking that they want to do a particular degree program in a STEM subject, only to find that they were not prepared. They did not have the sufficient rigor at high school to succeed at college. So they divert, they go off in a different career direction as well. So those two things are the big issues that we need to inject into the education system, relevance and rigor.
So keeping this pipeline flowing, is there a role that business and industry needs to play?
Absolutely. I think in the past, we've tended to look at education as an island all by itself, and industry as an island all by itself, when instead we should be thinking of them as a continuous system in which the education programs feed the necessary workforce into the industry. Now, with industry knowing that their future workforce is today sitting in a classroom somewhere, industry have to get more engaged with education to illustrate why those young people need to know these topics, X, Y, and Z, in order to succeed in their industries. So, partnerships, collaborations, coordinations between education and industry is essential.
And ultimately, if we don't make these steps, this could harm our economy, harm our way of life in the coming years.
Absolutely. What this is a crisis for our economy. It's not a crisis for education. It's a crisis for our economy, for our future well-being. If you look at all of the wealth-generating industry in Oklahoma, oil and gas, aerospace, agriculture, defense and security, etc., they're all high-tech, science and technology-related industries. Another figure I saw just recently, which I thought was astounding, 85% of the GDP growth in the United States comes from science and engineering, and yet only 5% of the workforce are scientists and engineers. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, that is certainly very telling. Well, Dr. McKeever, I certainly appreciate your insights.
Not at all, it's my pleasure.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about STEM education in Oklahoma, this is a subject we have covered quite extensively, and I have links to several of those stories under our value-added section on our website.